Alright, so tried to start this earlier today, and a rogue piece of metal from the seat post tube and my grinder punctured my phone screen and destroyed my other phone. So now we're back with a new phone and trying to do this in a more compact manner than what it was turning out to be before. So I am building a tall bike. This is my first actual build. I have had a practice go around with a set of other frames that I'll show you in a second, but otherwise these are the frames that will be the final product for my first tall bike. They are both Raleigh frames. The green one is from the early 70s, the black one is from the late 50s. They are almost identical in terms of their shape and geometry. The head tube angles are a little bit different, which you can maybe make out in the difference of pitch of the top tubes if you look real close, but it's minuscule. I have selected the green frame to be the bottom frame because if you look back here at the black frame in this triangle, you can see that this far tube here has actually been bent. There is even a little bit right there, you can see it, of a divot, of a dent where the rail has creased. So I'm not confident in the structural integrity of that triangle back there. The bottom one, the green frame, is a lot more secure. So I have used this, it's actually an 1.1/8" dowel to mock up the angle of both frames. It kind of creates a good line between the head tube on the bottom frame and the head tube on the top frame. It's a little bit off because the hole, the internal diameter of the head tube is a little bit larger than the 1.1/8", but honestly, we're talking 1/16, 32nds of an inch, so it's not a big deal. But what that allows me to do is determine the location of where the bottom bracket is going to meet the seat post tube. And it has allowed me to grind off a bit of the seat post tube so that we have a much better marriage of the bottom bracket, and the seat post tube will allow me to weld that in a much more clean manner as opposed to having to build up metal between the two to fill gaps. You'll notice on my practice frames, these frames I did yesterday, I intend to put a steer tube extension here, or a head tube extension. Basically, this allows you to completely encapsulate the steering tube inside of the head tube. I just don't like the way it looks when you have an exposed steering tube, so you could, in theory, grab this and turn the wheel. Just don't like the way it looks. I feel like this is cleaner. I will obviously grind up the welds a little better on a finished product and have it powder coated, so it will look a lot cleaner. I also learned the hard way, and I'm in my own light, how to avoid filling in this big section down here. So this is what I'm talking about, like I had to do yesterday, build up metal. So not ideal. I did no grinding of the seat post tube there. So obviously this was my first go around, and really I taught myself how to weld about a week or two ago. So not exactly pretty, but they hold, so that's all I care about. What I'm going to do next is measure the distance between the top of the head tube and the bottom of the head tube, and I believe I already measured it. It's 17 inches, so I'm going to take a piece of pipe, which I purchased a new one of today. This is 1-inch steel, and I am going to cut it to 17 inches, actually a little bit shy of 17 inches so that I can have a gap when I weld, and then we'll do some welding. Alright, so I've got my pipe cut, 16 3/4, and I'm just about rigged up to weld for the first pass. So, here's what I've got. Basically Harbor Freight magnets here, holding clear edge to edge. This piece right here is actually a welding rod that I have stripped the flux off of. It's about 1/8 of an inch, actually more of a 1/16 it looks like. It creates a nice little gap, even all the way around. That's because when you're welding, you want it to penetrate in to between the two pieces, not just against on the outside. Little trick I picked up watching YouTube videos. If you're looking for any channels to learn how to weld, Chuck E 2009 is out of this world. He's got some great tutorials and how-tos up there. Helped me out big time. So without further ado, I'm gonna give this one more look, make sure it looks good, and then hit it with the first one. Alright, so keep in mind, I am not a welder. This is not a welding video. But I will share with you some things that I did learn throughout the process of watching other people's how to weld videos. When you do pipe, especially, obviously, round pipe, the heat generated by welding a side will pull that side down. So you'll notice what I did is tack one side there, and then tack one side here. In theory, this should have weighed down the pipe evenly. Actually, this now might even be in there. It is a little tight, so I can pull these magnets off. Put those down there. And this welding rod is now actually kind of stuck in there. So I'm going to have to hang up here and get that out using some pliers. But obviously that cinched down the pipe as planned. So once I get that out of there, I will run a bead around the whole width or length of the circumference, and the bottom portion will be done. Okay, this is the part where I disclaim loudly and emphatically again that I am not a welder. Again, basically first go around at learning how to do this on any actual structural thing. But here we are. We have the head tube extension welded in, top and bottom. I didn't record any of that because figured I'd save some time off this video. During the process, I also tacked the bottom bracket to the seat post tube because I didn't want it to move. I got it nice and centered, and it was kind of just balancing on top. So at the moment, this is where we stand. I'm gonna finish up that bottom bracket and probably call it a night.